All right, so before we get started, I just wanted to say that this may help to alleviate some of the cost increases with DDR5 RAM and maybe even the NVMe, the SSDs, but mostly the RAM. And that's why the title says sort of. I'm not sure it's going to work out the way I'm hoping. I found this on eBay and I got it from actually Newegg. Newegg has a seller's account on eBay, and this is a refurbished HP OmniDesk 16L. What's in it is the 8700G CPU. There's a 1TB NVMe SSD. I'm not sure what gen it is, whether it's Gen 3 or Gen 4. More importantly, we're going to take a look at the RAM because supposedly it comes with 32 gigs of DDR5. And what's not clear at this point as well is the speed of that RAM, whether it's a 2-stick kit or a single module of RAM. So we're gonna open this up and take a look at that real quick, and then we'll start it up. We'll take a look inside, make sure everything's running the way it's supposed to be because it is a refurbished PC. And then we'll go over the value of what we've got in this PC versus what I paid for it. All right, so let's get started. Let's open this up and take a look. Ah. Well, that's kind of an unexpected bonus. It looks like I've got a wireless keyboard here. It seems to identify a mouse right here, but all I see right now is the keyboard. Cross your fingers, maybe there's a mouse in here. Oh, it looks like there might be. Okay, we'll take a look at that here after we open this up. All right, so I've done a 16L from HP before. If you haven't seen it, you might want to check that out. But yeah, it's not a very big PC as you can see, but we're going to take a look at the accessories real quick, and then we'll open it up for a second before we take it for a test spin. All right, so I'm assuming that this is the mouse. There's the power cord, and here's the mouse. That's an unexpected bonus, getting the keyboard and mouse. I don't recall it saying that there was a keyboard and mouse that came with this, but that adds a little bit more value. Quick setup guide. All right. Okay. Well, it's the gel style keyboard, but it's kind of snappy. It's not bad, especially considering it's a bonus that I got this. All right. Let's take a look here. Fake wood kind of accent right here. As you can see, it is an AMD PC. Just like I said, it's the 8700G that's supposed to be in here. And looks like we've got a screw here to pull this side plate off. Yeah, it's a retention screw, so that's even nice. Here's the filter, just like the other 16L. It's kind of glued on. So there's no removing that. If you're gonna remove dust from this filter, you're gonna have to take the whole panel off and take it with you to wherever you're gonna dust it off. All right, looks like we got 2 sticks. They're bare sticks, right? But we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit. I just wanted to confirm that we had 2 sticks of RAM instead of a single stick. I'm pretty sure that the SSD is in this shroud-like thing, like right underneath right here, but we'll find out when we take it apart. So we're gonna power this on, and then we're gonna put it through the paces a little bit and see how it performs. and then we'll talk a little bit more about how you can get something like this to save yourself some money on RAM. All right, so here's the BIOS, and it's pretty plain BIOS, and it doesn't have the normal pretty overlay that HP puts on some of their PCs, and it doesn't enable the mouse. Not a lot you can do in this BIOS as per normal for HP. I can't even see what speed the RAM is, and it does not show me the temperatures of the CPU. All right, so let's get out of here and let's get into Windows because there's not a lot going on. All right, so we're in, and it looks pretty simple as far as, I mean, you just have the recycle bin and Microsoft Edge icons. This doesn't have the HP bloatware that most HP PCs come with, and that might be because it's a refurb. Yeah, nothing for HP on here. So if you get something like this and it's like this, and you do want the HP support system, then you're gonna have to go to the HP website and get that stuff. Hey, 8700G, 32 gigs of RAM at 5200 mega transfers, so that's not bad. That might be the cap for this PC, and so when we take a look at the sticks of RAM, we'll take a closer look at what it's really capable of in the overclock mode. And there's that 1 terabyte NVMe, and there's the 780M iGPU that comes in integrated in the CPU. Let's make sure we don't have any conflicts. Looks like we do have a conflict right there for the Bluetooth. In order to fix that conflict, you'd probably have to go online and get an updated driver for that Wi-Fi Bluetooth card. And it might resolve itself on a Windows update. All right, so that's it. I'm gonna go off screen for a little while and do some benchmarks and stuff to see what it performs like, and then I'll be back with a teardown and I'll show you what I did to get this PC, how much I paid, and what the parts are worth. All right? As a starter, let's just check a couple of these cables, make sure everything's secure, which they should be. Everything worked fine during the benchmarking. All right, so we've only got like a couple of cables, right? We've got, looks like the front panel cable right there, and power for the motherboard, which is just a 4-pin connector. That's really, really interesting that that's how they're powering it. There's also a spot for a GPU right there, so we'll talk about that later on as we go along. All 3 of the cables seem secure enough, so no worries there. Not sure how this shroud is put together, but I'm seeing some arrows in a couple of spots. This top part, it's a little bit loose, but it looks like it's hooked in right here. So I imagine if I lift it, comes right out. Then I've got a couple of arrows here. It looks like these are tabs right here. So it's comes right out. So you got to put a little pressure, a decent amount of pressure. It feels like you're gonna break it, but you got to put a decent amount of pressure on both these, and it lifts right out. Let's take a look at the RAM here. And I saw when I was looking around in the task manager that these are Samsung sticks, which that's what it says right there. And I think these are 5600 mega transfers. Yeah, these are 5600 mega transfers. As we saw when we were looking around, it was capped at 5200, but that's because that's what this board allows. right? But it can go up to 5600. It doesn't have any timings on there. I'm assuming it's somewhere around the CL30 to 36 range. All right, and just like I thought, underneath that shroud was the SSD, so let's take that out. And I don't see any other M.2 slots. Looks like one could have gone right here, where there looks like an outline for a potential M.2 slot, kind of similar looking to this, but there's nothing there. It looks like they use this board for a few different reasons, or different models where a second M.2 slot could potentially go right here. Dinky ass writing on this SSD. This is a Micron 1 terabyte drive. It is a Gen 4x4. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick this up or not. But as soon as I figure out what the speeds are on this Micron SSD, I'll put the read-write speeds right there. All right, the power supply looks like it says a 80 plus platinum right there. Let me see if I can get the camera a little bit closer. Right there. Just in case it doesn't pick up, I'll show you a picture of it. So according to what I'm seeing here, it says it's a 280 watt maximum power supply, which explains the way the board's put together and everything. And then we get the Wi-Fi card right there. It is a Realtek Wi-Fi and Bluetooth card that's in there. And I did confirm it is a Wi-Fi 6 card. So there's that. So that's pretty much the layout. Normally I would remove this cooler and check the thermal paste, but I didn't see any concerns with thermals. That's pretty much it. I mean, other than the front panel, which can come off by undoing these, lifting them up slightly, and that takes the front panel off. All right, so that's pretty much it. We did talk about the GPU slot right there. And it's got one of those wonky release tabs that I never liked about HP. But yeah, but you also have to want to be aware that, yeah, that's how you open it up, so that you could slot a GPU in there. Obviously, you'd have to take out these tabs right here and pull them off in order to put a GPU in there if you so choose. I'm gonna quickly go through some of the benchmark stuff. So first and foremost, for Cyberpunk 2077, it was not happy with the 4K Ultra mode. As a matter of fact, it was about 4.5 FPS on average. The mini PC that I reviewed recently did almost twice as much at, 8 FPS, but, still twice as much, almost. Anyways, at 1440p Ultra, it wasn't doing any better than 10 FPS. At 1080p Ultra, it hit about 16 FPS on average. So rather than doing the stuff that this thing obviously can't handle, let's talk about what it can do and at what settings. So on Cyberpunk 2077, if you have a 1440p monitor, you could potentially use FSR 2.1, not 3, and hit the low presets and enable ultra performance mode rather than performance mode, and that'll hit about 34 FPS. So that's kind of acceptable. Obviously, it's not ideal. You normally want at least 60, but if you're insistent on playing 1440p, that's the settings I would recommend. At 1080p, similar settings, you're gonna use FSR 2.1 and not 3. You're gonna hit the low preset and ultra performance mode, and that'll get you, or at least it got me, an average of about 48.8 FPS. So right on the edge of getting to a enjoyable experience, but at the same time quite playable at 48.8 FPS. On Black Myth Wukong, we're gonna skip all the stuff that it can't do. The best FPS that I could get out of this for Black Myth Wukong was at 1080p on the low preset, and that got me about 41 FPS. It did give me a low VRAM notice. I'm not sure what that meant, but I'm assuming it was looking for VRAM to use, and since it's an iGPU, there's no VRAM to use. So what the message said was, detected low VRAM. Benchmark results may significantly differ from actual gaming experience and are for reference only. And then Monster Hunter Wilds, that kept on crashing, and there was no way for me to get into Monster Hunter Wilds with this particular PC setup. It starts with the shader compilations and it would almost immediately crash out. No playing Monster Hunter Wilds with a PC like this without a GPU. So then I went with Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a still pretty relevant game. The best FPS that I got out of that was at the 1080p settings again. And I put everything on the lowest settings with TAA off. And also turned on FSR2 performance and minimized the FSR2 sharpening. And that got me about 40 FPS on average. And during the gameplays, the top CPU temperatures that I got was, it hit no higher than 76C at any point in time during those games. And it pulled about 65.3 watts at the very top. And then I ran Cinebench R23, and I only did the multi-core score. I didn't do the single core score because, let's face it, it's productivity PC more than anything else. And so the multi-core score is gonna be more important by far than a single core score. And so the multi-core score came out to 6,594. Now the top CPU temperature came in at 80.5 C and the top power draw was 65.1 watts. And so it did okay. And here's a chart of the comparative CPUs in that range for that score and the multi-core score. And as you can see, most of the comparisons are with mobile CPUs, although that's what the most common scores are that it's being compared to. It doesn't mean that it's an underperformer. I believe it performed a little bit better than the 13400F. All right, so let's talk about why I got this PC. I didn't get it to, flip it or anything like that. I got it as a test to see if I could bring the cost of the RAM that it came with under current market prices. And if so, how much could I save by doing it this way? And so one of the best ways I could think of was to buy a PC like this, pull the RAM and sell off the rest, right? Not necessarily as a single unit, maybe part it out and sell it off and see if I could create a savings. I was thinking that I could part it out and sell it off in pieces and possibly get a better price for the RAM. And considering it is a Samsung kit, it is 5600 megatransfers a second. So that made me want to look up recent sold prices for the 8700G CPU to see what I could get out of it. Not only see what I could get out of it, but what I would net. Because if I sold it on a place like eBay or Jawa, then they get a cut, right? Upwards of about 13%. So I got a figure for that. Now, if I could sell it off locally on like Facebook Marketplace, all the better. But let's talk about worst case scenario. All right, so the CPU, from what I could find, I could sell for well over $200, and it would net me about, on average, about $209 after I paid eBay their 13% blood money. And for the 1 terabyte drive, considering it's a Gen 4 drive and it is from Micron, originally I was looking at about a net of $97 for, like, if it was a 3rd gen, but there was a possibility of going up to a net of up to $120 for better SSDs. So depending on the SSD that this comes with, I figure I'd do an average between those two things. So the average comes out to be about a net of $109. And then the rest of the box, meaning the case, the motherboard, and the power supply, I could sell off. But I only found one instance where something like that was sold for about $100, but I'm not sure that the hardware even matched what this hardware is. But just to make an assumption, at $100, that means I would net about $87. And that comes out to be a net of $405. And that doesn't include what I could get for that wireless keyboard and mouse. So about $405 off the top. And so if I take $405 off of that, that gives me $212 for a 32 gig kit. Let's take $15 off the top for the keyboard and mouse that I could probably sell locally pretty quickly. And that gets us under $200. Technically, I did save money. I saved about 30 to 35% on a current market 32 gig 2-stick kit, which is nothing to sneeze at, right? We're talking about $120 of savings that you can get from doing something like this. Certainly, it'll take you time to be able to do all of that. It kind of works, and that's why in the title I said sort of, because I don't know how viable it is, right? You could scale something like this if it works, but if it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, then not a lot of people will want to do something like this. But it is an alternative to paying the insane prices that these RAM kits are at. And all things considered, I think it's not a bad option. Right? I mean, what are your other options? If you don't, outside of waiting for the market to correct, right, which is an unknown factor, and it's probably going to take anywhere from 1 to 2 years at least. But again, who knows what else will happen in the market in the meantime, right? So you could wait, which, you know, it's not a bad play if you've got the patience and you don't really have a need for upgrading or building a new PC or whatever. So it's probably your best option, having patience and no need for an upgrade or a new PC. Next best option is, I suppose you could look for pre-builts that are being sold at a good price. And if you want to take a look at some pre-built PCs that I've reviewed in the past and see if those things are on sale for the price points I got them for, because I always look for the pre-builts that have a decent price point before I purchase them to review. So you might want to take a look at some of that stuff and compare to what's on the market and what they're selling for right now. But this isn't a bad third option, right? Or even a primary option. If you're really wanting to upgrade or build a new PC, then you could cannibalize a PC like this that you can find on eBay. Again, I got it from Newegg's seller's account. Or Acer has some stuff right now that they're selling refurbished. Some of those have GPUs and some of those prices aren't bad. So you might want to check those out. And you remember I was telling you earlier that I was going to talk to you about the green PCBs on that RAM kit. There are heat spreaders that you can get for RAM kits. You just have to be aware of what kind of measurements and the manufacturer, because sometimes those heat spreaders are made specifically for a certain size of PCB. I don't know that there's universal heat spreaders that would cover a wide range of RAM. There might be, and if there is, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to take a look at that stuff. You're also not going to be able to do the RGB thing on those heat spreaders unless you're willing to get some heat spreaders that have RGB on them, but they're wired, and you'd have to plug them into like the motherboard or something. So you could do that, but that obviously is a cost that you would have to put back into the calculation of how much you spent for that kit of RAM. Certainly you're still saving money from the retail market prices, and probably will be able to do so for a while until the market catches on and starts raising the prices of these refurbished PCs. So limited time availability is what I'm thinking is going to happen if the idea catches on. But in the meantime, you could potentially get something like this and save yourself some money. I would still advocate to wait unless you really need a upgrade or a new PC, right? And on that note, sooner or later, I'm probably going to come out with a video with how I find deals. And so if you got interested in that, let me know down in the comments. The more people that say that they want to see a video like that, or the more likes I get for any comment that says that they want to see it, the more likely I am to show you how I find deals. All right, anyways, so that's it. That was my idea. I'm not 100% sure that it makes sense to most people, and I'm honestly not sure if it really even makes all that much sense to me. But I thought I'd just give this a shot and see if I could help at least a few people to get a more cost-effective kit of RAM. I hope you enjoyed the information I provided, and if you did, please hit that like and subscribe down below. It does help out the channel a ton, and if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, please let me know. And if you got any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to get back with just about any number of commenters in my videos. I love interacting with you guys, so just, you know, even if it's just to say hi, right? Anyways, like I said, I hope you enjoyed the content. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next one. You wake up. Then I also ran a couple of tests on the CPU side. So all it has is a CPU. And the 14400F or the 14300 or the 13 or the 1314. Oh my God. I just spit right there. Wow. Now I just snotted myself.